Greetings one, greetings all. I'm here with my friend, a radio DJ. Tell me your name.
Well, I'm using the name Asterisk Jones online, but I do have the name of Mike as the real name.
You know what? I didn't know that. I never knew his name.
That's the whole point of it, isn't it?
I've known this guy for 5 years. You know what? When I started doing the travelogues, I got the idea. Oh, don't tell Lance, don't tell Ian. I got the idea off this guy who did one in Carnforth, and it was some sort of like random bantering travel blog. And I thought, that's wonderful, I'll start that. And me and Lance, of course, started doing that, and we were the daddies of it. We weren't, well, maybe we were the daddies, but this is the granddaddy.
You were just saying that at the time we were lucky on YouTube. Not as many people were thinking of making things as they are, and it was slowly taking off. And when you came up with a creative idea, you can more easily get thousands of views. And I found now, sadly, since it's harder to do. And when I'm making little funny videos about towns and things and noticing things, and that's what I started. And then you started doing all sorts about Denbigh, and including the paranormal stories of what you experienced working at North Wales Hospital, but also lots of travelogues about things in North Wales, Glynn, the caves in Snowdonia, which is interesting for anyone who's thinking about North Wales.
Ian's a caveman.
Yeah, but it was easier in those days actually to get the audience. You know, if someone typed in Denbigh in those days, you were there straight away. But now everyone's at it, as you say.
Well, everyone's at it. Well, me and him aren't at it. We're on our own now these days, aren't we? Mike, I can't call you Mike. I usually call you Mr. Jones.
That is your real name.
Well, I'll be familiar with you, and I'll call you Asterisk, which is your pen name.
Yeah.
But yeah, you're quite right. I seem to remember the early days on YouTube, I typed in Denbigh, and there was two things that came up. There was something on Denbigh, Virginia.
Which is in the US, obviously.
Yes. And the other thing was this guy had put the women of Denbigh. But he had the women of Carnforth, he had the women of every town in the country. But he was getting substantial hits, but it was the same video over and over again about his experiences with women.
Isn't it?
And his experiences with women is probably worse than mine, and I'm no braggart. So we've had a great day out today. We've had a look at some of the old haunts of Mike, who spent some time in Denbigh.
Yes, I used to go to a special school. It's worth to say that I actually lived in Neston back then as I do now, and we actually had a taxi for some of us coming from there, and it went every day. We didn't even board and stay there, even though some people did. We went to this school that a lot of people will have heard of from the town, called Brondifferin, and it used to be in a manor house. But now they've moved it to another more ordinary place in Denbigh called Tin Bron or something, and there looks to be a centre for kids with autism as well, and in another fairly remote-ish spot that they might have moved to. So it's all changed.
It has. Changed. But I must tell you that Asterisk and myself, we've been extremely brave, and we did a bit of trespass, didn't we? Would you like to tell us about that?
Yeah, well, I just saw the entrance to Brondifferin, the manor place, and we just brazenly drove in there filming it. And you could see that it wasn't a school anymore, sadly. You could see that everything was the same, had the frontage. It was like, 3 stories, like a mansion, and then converted into classrooms. And the playground area was really lush, almost like a mini Gardens of Babylon, We went right in, we had a look at the compound thing at the side, we had a look at that. And then an Asian person came there and said they owned it or something. What the heck are you doing there? I actually told him why I was there, and I wonder if he'd had anybody else trying to revisit, just because they went to school there. I went there until about 93 or something, which was around the time that I think the North Wales Hospital was getting shut, and it's been a derelict site ever since, with broken windows and urban X's descending on it, probably travelling from places like the Midlands just to visit it.
And they will. Yeah. And by almost coincidence, no such thing as coincidence, where did we go straight away afterwards? But up to the North Wales Hospital to see that behind fence. Everywhere we've actually gone today, Mr. Jones, is behind wire, behind fence. That's indicative of the society we live in today, isn't it?
Well, yeah. One is that it's actually just private property now. Somebody's literally living in the grounds of Brondifferin as a house. So we just went into his drive and filmed it. But if we hadn't have done it, then we wouldn't have been able to do it. And people do. There are people who break into sites like the North Wales Hospital. We didn't do that today, but because it's fascinating to see what happens when you just leave a building. You'd think, all you're going to get is dust, perhaps. Things come off, things decay. It looks incredibly spooky and and dramatic.
Well, out of death comes life. I'm always grateful for death, because without death there cannot be life.
Yeah.
Anyway, we left that sort of area and we went down to a huge festival which is coming to Denbigh at the moment, and we entered a 30-mile-an-hour zone between Denbigh and Llandurnog. And Mike, tell us about that.
Well, actually, they're based the Eisteddfod just out of town in this. It's the National Eisteddfod rather than International. They're expecting about 100,000 people in that tiny area there, which is going to be ridiculous. You're going to be backed up for miles. And this boy racer paradise straight road, which I'm sure all the young people who can get out, if you can afford the damn insurance these days, or just go out illegally. I'm sure a lot of people do that.
No.
You could bomb down there, and it's a 30 for ages on this long straight road just because of the Eisteddfod.
Yeah, and we've ended up back in Chez Moi for a cup of tea before Mike has to go to the Shell garage for £10 worth of petrol to get him back to Neston.
Yeah.
But all in all, we've had a fantastic day, I think, and it's great to see Mr. Jones down here, because I've known him for a while, but online. We used to Skype a bit as well, didn't we?
Yeah, so I got it on Skype, and I've watched a lot of the travelogues and stuff that you've done, and also featured on Channel 107 for Halloween. I've spoke to you on phone for these stories that we've included, and
yeah, well, nobody knows I'm a star of radio, but you do now.
Because of passing the test and everything, I just thought we're going to come and actually record it in person.
Yeah, that's brilliant.
Quite
anyway, we will love you and leave you, and any final message for anyone who would care to view this little, I wouldn't call it a travel blog, but maybe it's a little report, isn't it, on a blog, on a travelogue. Yeah,
well, you just maybe keep an eye on the Channel 107 Facebook page for when I'm sort of relaunching everything again, because I've moved into Neston, and we should see the Halloween show. There's lots of things in it as well when that comes up, like a story that I put together with my ex-girlfriend. Met a partner that way through me interviewing for the radio, so that sometimes it's a double-edged sword, and the fact that it was a Halloween story that I wanted to get is quite fascinating, because obviously I turned it into my own Halloween.
Well, yes, a horror story of his own making. So fantastic to get back on the camera again. You know what, I was looking at my YouTube channel earlier, and I hadn't done anything for over a month, and I used to bang out one a day at my height.
Well, I used to think about lots of things, a bit like the scandals such as the Gordon Brown Bigot Gate and things like that. I mean, all these things are going on now with the coalition, with bedroom tax, and I'm doing a lot of thoughts on that. Yeah. Well, I also had those political rants, which I've decided not to attach myself to stuff that makes me angry and makes me sad. And this has been a progressive thing for me, because I want to be happy. I don't want to be sad. It's a simple choice, isn't it? What do I want? And we've all got to choose that, haven't we, Mike? Do we want to be happy or sad? Well, I suppose if you focus on those things, it's just whether you think you can change them, which I might. We can change. Because what we think about, we act upon. And what we act upon gives us our results, and the only thing we're able to control is what we think about. That's right, yeah. Look at it. He agrees with me, so it must be true. Righty-ho, we're going to say goodbye. Otherwise it'll be over the 15 minutes, because we could talk for England, or indeed, as it is, Wales. So, bye for now. Bye.